pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll.
Alderman Tobin. Jean-Francois.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Kleiner.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Witt.
Here.
Massey.
Here.
President Rodriguez.
Approval of minutes. We have a motion by Alderman Kleiner and seconded by Alderman Green. We'll do all three, March 19th, April 2nd, and May 21st.
Alderman Jean-Francois.
All right.
Aye.
Roll.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye. Correspondence.
Sorry. We have a standardized notice form for providing a 30-day notice for a liquor license for Milo's Restaurant.
Received and filed. For the good of the city, anyone from the public want to come up and address the council, please do so. If you come up, give us your name.
Hello. Oh, there we go. Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Sid. I was born and raised here in Middletown, and I'm actually here today to speak in support of the Good Cause Eviction Bill. We need this law to protect against unfair eviction and predatory rent increases, and it would help keep rents down and keep families in their homes. If folks pay their rent and abide by the law and their lease, they should not have to face the threat of eviction or predatory rent increase. I also call on the council to define small landlord as those who own only one rental unit in order to cover as many tenants as possible under the law. Good cause eviction has already passed in Ithaca, Kingston, Albany, Poughkeepsie, and soon in Newburgh, and we shouldn't fall behind. As I have said back on October 5th, 2023, at the public hearing for the Community Development Grant about allocating money to the vacancy study, now that you are all accepting the money, an ETPA vacancy study should be done to build truly affordable housing and have that money allocated towards that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council?
Hi, good evening. My name is Diana Lopez, and I am a community organizer with For the Many. I organize Kingston, which is one of the cities that has passed good cause eviction. And it is crucial to protect families from being evicted without a good reason. Folks that have lived in their home for many years, that have paid their rent on time, have never had an issue. Those are the folks that are unfortunately are being evicted from their homes. And Kingston actually set the portfolio size to 1 unit, which would cover like a lot of families with children. And yeah, I've seen firsthand how unfortunately some landlords raise the rent without having, like twice as what they are renting to the previous tenants. And sometimes the reason they do that is so it makes it unaffordable for their family, so then they can move out and either rent to a higher amount for the next tenant to come in, or turn them into Airbnbs. The state has given, the right to you all to be able to protect these families, and I think that the time to do it is as soon as possible, which is like right now. There are families being on the street with children, and that is a big, as a mother of 3, I can and witness how it does affect even my children to lose their friends from the community because they have to move out. So I really encourage you to join us in being like the leadership for other municipalities to also opt in, as new Poughkeepsie, Ithaca, Albany, hopefully Saugerty soon will also be opting in, and Newburgh. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on down.
Good evening, Alderman. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Jairo Perez. I live in the 4th Ward on Houston Avenue, and I've lived at the house I reside in for 20 years, over 20 years. A couple years ago, my family and we bought the home that we've been renting at. And yeah, we always took care of the home, and it's a wonderful goal that we achieved to purchase the home that we spent most of my life in. But many struggle to pay the rent and leave their homes in Middletown itself. We need a city where people can raise families and build communities. We need good cause eviction in Middletown, and it's not unprecedented. Ithaca passed it, Kingston, and just recently Poughkeepsie and Albany as well have passed good cause eviction. We need to protect our tenants and keep our families in their homes. It's only fair as folks pay their rents and leases and abide by the laws and leases. Also, I call on the council to define small landlord as those who own one rental unit. Thank you.
Thank you. No? Okay. Thank you all. Anyone online? Remarks of the mayor.
Good evening. First, I'd like to open with the recognition of since our last meeting, we had a funeral for Dick Woolslayer, who is a former Middletown football coach, and also we, through the efforts of Council President Rodriguez, constructed a youth football stadium here in the city, over off of Monhagan Avenue, and recognized the good work that Dick did in this community, and that his legacy will live on forever here as part of the Middletown community with the naming of the stadium. So my condolences are extended to his family and friends and to all who played for him, and appreciate Dick's work that he did here in the city. He was also a city resident and contributed in many, many other ways, but most known for his football coaching and relationship with his student athletes. So we wanted to acknowledge Dick in that way. We also then moved on to the Stars and Stripes celebration, which was on July 3rd this year up at Davidge Park. It was a great turnout, probably the biggest turnout we had since we've started. The fireworks were exceptional. I think they went for over 25 minutes, and this was an organized city event, which we have every year, and it was, as I said, well attended. But along with this type of activity, and when the New York State law changed a few years back, the issue of illegal fireworks continues to be a problem in the city. As you know, that we opted out of the use of fireworks in the city of Middletown. Individual communities had the opportunity to either opt in or opt out. We opted out of the sale and use in the city for obvious reasons. One is the houses are so close together. The issue of fires, of impacting neighbors, the smoke. We've had discussions with people who are from our veterans, people with pets, animals, cats, dogs, and it's just not conducive to doing fireworks in such a densely populated area. We have over 30,000 people in 5 square miles, some neighborhoods more dense than others, and it really does continue to cause havoc. We have, over the years, have been placing additional police units on for that week. We are not only doing that, we've also started using some new technology. We're using drones, and we're having a lot more success. You'll see in the statistics that are on the board here, in 23 we had a total of 81 calls and 21 arrests. This year we had slightly more, 84 calls for those 5 days, and we had 36 arrests. And that would be contributed to more resources and the technology that we are now using. I can tell people, and we have told them and warned them before, that the minimum fine that we are requesting in court is $500. If there's a repeat offender from the previous year, or even when the previous, within the same time frame, the Corporation Council has been asking for jail time, which you can be jailed for this for up to 15 days. It may seem like a petty thing to some. I know some of the social media feedback that we get is very negative. Let people enjoy the 4th. Well, you have plenty of room to enjoy the 4th if you have a friend who lives outside the city, and you can do it all you want out there. That would be the surrounding townships issue to deal with. I believe that it should be a law anywhere where there's densely populated people that, populations that you should not be able to light them off, but they're doing it. So we're putting the warning again for next year, or as even between, we do get an occasional complaint still from the use. These laws don't only apply around the 4th of July, they apply year round. And it's just a cautionary warning is to not do it in the city of Middletown. So we appreciate everyone's cooperation. I want to assure our residents that we are doing what we can. We have, as I said, allocated significant police resources to this. And some of the criticism is we should be using those resources somewhere else. No, we cover the somewhere else things with, with other police officers. But we do have a special unit that has been handling this, and I want to applaud the police department for the probably a 75% increase in arrests this year, and ask people once again, don't do it. Moving forward, up on the screen is a picture of our county legislator, Mike Paduch. Mike has been instrumental in receiving or sending some county grant funding to us, including the stage tent that you've been seeing at the Festival Square or Degnan Square. We'll be getting in some new downtown planters to prevent some vehicles from driving up on the sidewalks in certain areas, and some promotional materials for the Run for Downtown show at the Paramount. I want to also thank the county executive on that one too. So good bipartisan effort between Mr. Paduch and others in the county government and the county exec and we thank them for this funding that has come in. We also recently have had a press conference regarding the transfer of the Middletown Community Center and campus properties. We will be getting in about 34 acres of property, close to 34 acres with about 13 structures. Some of them are garages, some of them are large buildings. We do have plans to transfer some of them out, hopefully to Fayetien College for the use of the college community. And there's other economic development opportunities for the campus. Now that we have control of the property, we can now start enforcing the issues that we've been having up there with people breaking in, calling state representatives of the property and having them not to come down and after spending hours of police resources to find people breaking into these empty buildings, finding no one to sign a complaint, having to release the people, and then repeating the same thing the very next day or the very next week. So not only was it taking up a lot of police time and a lot of police resources, it was creating a hazard and a lot of problems for that campus. If you recall, and going back to the fireworks discussion, that the city of Middletown paid about $1.1 or $1.2 million for a large fire that happened on that campus a few years ago. That fire was attributed to illegal fireworks landing on the roof of that property. So that fire alone had over $1 million impact on directly on our taxpayers. These vacant buildings have potentially the same impact on our community. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to gain control. We were able to use the Economic Development Office, working with other agencies in the city, community development, the police, to develop a plan. We are meeting tomorrow with the BOA grant, which is a combination of a few $100,000 of planning that we will be doing with the Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress, or Mid-Hudson Pattern for Progress, and developing a plan to address the further development of that campus. That should address infrastructure, that should address some of the empty buildings that are there, and at the same time allow us to not only develop a plan, but access additional grant money for the redevelopment of some of these properties. This would be the first step to opening the door on those additional properties. So we're excited about partnering with Pattern for Progress on this, and we will keep you abreast of what's happening as we move forward. And I want to thank Senator Skoufis and Assemblywoman Gunther. Believe it or not, this this negotiation for this property began 10 years ago. We actually entered a memorandum of understanding with the state of New York 8 years ago in order to transfer these properties. You could take any one of those properties and go back 8, 9, 10 years, and you will see a totally different property then than what it is now, being vacant, vandalized, and the plumbing and destruction of these properties. They still have some value, and that's the surprising part. So I do want to thank the state and Governor Hochul for getting this done, but I can assure you that this closing came about because of two people, Senator Skoufis and Assemblywoman Gunther. It would have happened someday, but someday, we know the word someday, but it happened much quicker because of the two of them really stood up for our community, stood up for our city, and fought with the bureaucracy in Albany to make it happen. And the famous Kleiner building is now owned by the city. Jerry's was at the celebration and the transfer. He had pictures of his mom and dad, I believe, at the celebration. So the people there were given a little bit of history, and it's just a very positive move forward for our community. Moving on to Mr. Tawil. Any complaint should be directed to 343-3169, Jacob Tawil, on the milling and paving work. I know it's frustrating. I know the combination of the milling and paving, the curbs, the sidewalks, the intersection work, the curbs at its intersections is frustrating, and that we're trying to do the best we can to communicate. We also recognize that some of these streets, as Jerry has complained in the past, have been open for quite a while. And the reason for that is that the subcontractors of Boyce, for example, the curbing, will only come in if they have 5,000 linear feet in order to lay the curbing. So we have to work with what we have. It also impacts pricing. If we did it by block, we would probably afford to do 20% of what we're doing by doing it the way we're doing it. So it's a short-term inconvenience. Remember last year, downtown Middletown was basically in the same position. Everyone survived, mostly businesses. We do have some commercial sections that are impacted. We feel badly about it, Monhagen and West Main. But the end result will be what you see now in our downtown intersections or at Fulton Street, where beautiful work, beautiful sidewalks, ADA compliant, new paving, and just a benefit to the entire community. So we ask for your patience. We will do our best to continue to communicate with you. And that's why we ask you to sign up, go to middletownny.gov and sign up for the emergency alert system. There's different layers of it. This is the old Nixle system. We put out frequent messages about street closures. Like today is the listing for tomorrow's milling work. We try to do our best to communicate to you where to avoid. And that's the biggest issue. I know I came down Lake Avenue today, and I had to I usually make a right onto Wickham. I got up to Knapp Avenue, and the street was closed. I made a right on Knapp, couldn't make a left on Walk Hill. I couldn't make a left on Cantrell. I had to go all the way up and then turn around and come back down towards Liberty Street and go around the other way. So maybe we'll try to do a better job in directing people where to go, not just putting up some horses, but some of the, these busy roads are the ones that cause the most problems. So hopefully those will pass pretty soon. So we just, I once again appreciate your patience. It's not we do get a few phone calls on it, and people are not happy. I understand it, but we're right in the middle of it, and we'll make it work. We'll get it done as quickly as we can. The good news is the contract with the Boyce Company, I believe all the work has to be done by the end of this year, except for some cleanup work. But the basic major part of the contract has to be done by the end of the year. We also, we've had some extreme weather in the cooling center at 8-10 Mulberry Street. is open again tomorrow. We've had it open for quite a bit. We're partnering with the Greater Middletown Interfaith Council, the same people who run the warming center. The City Community Development Office is picking up the expense of the person who is there. My understanding is we're averaging about 10 people a day, some rotating in and out, but at least it is a cool place for people to go during this 95, 100-degree weather. And so I want to thank the not the warming center, but the Greater Middletown Interfaith Council for once again stepping up and assisting us with this. Tonight you have a petition that's going to be read from community members regarding asking the city to not pull back on code enforcement. And if you may, if you could read that now.
Yeah, I can.
Sure, we can, if you want, we'll
so
read
people
it
will know
now.
how what I'm responding to. So
Okay.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. So we have an official petition to the council members, and it reads as follows. To members of the Middletown City Council, there is a national movement underway to cut back on quality of life policy methods, such as making arrests for vandalism, littering, loitering, vagrancy, public intoxication, and other quality of life violations. As a registered voter in Middletown, I urge you to maintain all quality of life policy methods, vigorously defend these methods, support our police in enforcement of quality of life violations, and make sure our district attorney is fully behind quality of life policy methods. Quality of life policing, as well as proactive policy methods, have cleaned up and maintained order in many neighborhoods. In many neighborhoods in our city and help reduce more serious crime nationwide between 1985 and 2015 by over 50%. This letter was written by Mrs. Marian Saccardi, Ms. Margaret Cipollone, Debbie Morano, Cassandra McHugh, James Depew, Ms. Susan Lee, Ms. Teresa Bartha, Ms. Hope Long, Mrs. Joan Stolz, and Mr. Ronald Saul.
Thank you. I can assure the petition seekers or submitters that we have been very, very focused on code enforcement in the city, and will continue to do so. I don't know if a rumor got started that we were one of these communities that would not focus or we're going to back off on the items that were mentioned, but we have not only been focused on code enforcement, we've expanded the code enforcement to partner with the Middletown Police Department through the CPTED program. It's a national program regarding code enforcement, working with police agencies, and we continue to expand our code department, and Jacob's department is doing a good job in that area. We are trying to get the point across. You know, we do prosecution. Alex Smith has been very aggressive. The new judge, Teresa Caton, has been very aggressive also in penalizing people for their poor conditions of properties, whether it's a landlord or a homeowner. People that need to address issues that not only affect their property, but affect the values in their neighborhoods, property values in their neighborhoods. So we have 10 points that we've been focusing on, and there's more to it. But basically, we have begun somewhat of a campaign, which we will turn into more of a campaign in writing as we move forward with our weekly newsletters and stuff. And we're focusing on 10 areas of concern right now. One is overgrown lots, high grass. Not only your home or your property, but the area between the curb and the sidewalk. That is the homeowner's responsibility. We have one property on Beatty Avenue that it's about 4 feet high around the telephone pole. And that property owner will be violated tomorrow. And if they don't clean it, now their lawn is cut, but this telephone pole is 3 or 4 feet high. It makes no sense. So we'll ask them to cut it, and if they don't cut it, then it'll cost them $100 for the city to go out and cut it. And I don't think people want to do that. So, but we do give warnings also, at least 5-day warning for first-time offenders. Trash and clutter in the yard. There's no excuse for it, especially with our sanitation program that we have, the closed lids. There's no longer any excuse for birds or any other animals getting into the trash. And if it does happen, then as a homeowner or property owner or a tenant, it's your responsibility to clean it up. Junk cars and vehicles in the yard. you can't have them. You can't have unlicensed vehicles. I believe it's one you may be able to have, but there are guidelines on that within the city code. But it can't be a junk car. It can't be cars up on cinder blocks, and it's just not appropriate for our residential neighborhoods. There are some limits on outside storage and what you can and cannot do. Unpermitted accessory structures. You can't just build yourself a garage without getting a permit and do it right on your neighbor's property line. Deteriorating and rotten wood. We're seeing a lot of that now with porches. And we're also seeing a lot of people investing in property. And if there's a financial issue, we do have access to some federal funds that people can apply for if you qualify either as a tenant through your landlord or as a property owner. So I would contact the Office of Economic and Community Development, and they may be able to help you with porch replacement, painting, and some of the other violations like flaking and chip paint that we've been dealing with. Roof repair. We're actually getting some complaints from people. Their roofs are leaking in their rental units, and the landlord is not addressing the problem. So we're also focusing on that. Premise identification, it's a safety issue. You need to have your number of your house on your property. If an ambulance or a police call comes in, they need to be able to identify, and this is a 911 requirement, that you have to have it visible. And the other, and which is one I've been talking about for a couple of years, and I know I've asked that it go into committee with the winter parking regulations, and now it's become a year-round thing, is vehicles parked on the front lawn or parked on a lawn. It's not a permissible thing. You can't be parking on your front lawn while your neighbor is meticulously taking care of their front lawn. You park in the driveway, you park on the sidewalk. So these are the things we're going to be focusing on, paying a special emphasis to as we move forward through the rest of the summer months. And again, we ask for the cooperation of our residents, and we're going to try to start some type of campaign. It may be a door-to-door with door knockers, just advising people, hey, here's what's available to help you. Please contact us. If we can help you, we will. If not, you still have to address the problem. So it's as simple as that. In regard to good cause eviction, we've been looking at it. It's not as simple as is being produced and being represented. Many communities have been sued and lost. I think Newburgh is either on their second or third round of good cause eviction. The state of New York has also adopted some type of regulation. We've been in contact with Senator Skoufis's office, trying to find out what are they parallel programs, or have they been meshed into one? Our focus, at least my focus, has been on controlling the rent increase. There are parts of good cause eviction that I think we should be worried about, and that is getting rid of bad tenants. Although the law may say that you've got to be a good tenant, how do you define it? The court process, the length of time that it takes to get rid of bad tenants, and we do have bad tenants. We have bad landlords, and we focus a lot on bad landlords, but we do get bad tenants. So we don't want to box our landlords in on that. I also don't want to box in a homeowner who has a two-family home in which they live in, and the other unit is rented, committing them to some standards that are being applied, not even applied in New York City, I don't believe, because a rent control and rate stabilization, I think, deal with 8 units or more in a building. So I think what they're requesting is very excessive, but our focus, at least my focus, has been focusing on our ability to either utilize the existing state laws or to request special state legislation that would stop landlords from gouging and rent gouging. And if we can do that, then I think we've accomplished something. We're also looking at the pro-housing community standards that Governor Hochul has put out. We're positive so far on the application process that we've seen. It's certainly our decision to implement some of those policies, but I think the idea is that would open us up for a lot more points on grant standing on grant applications if we do file the pro-housing community. But before we do it, we all have to understand the pluses and the minuses and the litigation. Thousands and tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars have been spent by cities in this state for good cause eviction, and I think every one of them was lost up until maybe recently, and they're going through it again. So we have taken, in the administration, have taken a cautious approach to good cause eviction. I like to see how things work in other communities before we implement it here, and I want to make sure that that any information that we get, we will certainly share with the council committee, and ultimately it's your call on how we move forward, and as a city and as a policy, and I'll offer my constructive criticism or my support in whatever way I feel is best. But I don't think it's a knee-jerk reaction. I know when someone comes up and says, hey, the landlord did this, and I've been here for many, many years, and the landlord's doubling my rent, that's what we want to try to address. Or the landlord's increasing my rent 20%, that's what we want to try to address in that area, or some significant double-digit numbers. But I don't want to create a system, and we have partly now because of through COVID and rent eviction laws, where people who are not paying their rent, who are not good tenants, who are creating problems in neighborhoods, that we and the landlord is stuck with that person as a tenant. And we have to be very cautious, move forward, try to protect as many tenants as we can, and at the same time, keep in mind that there are also bad landlords, but also bad tenants. So that's my spiel, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Mr. Mayor, yes, please. Can you possibly give us an update on the redistricting issue?
Yes, I spoke with Legislator Paduch recently, and keep in mind now that we have 3 legislators who represent the city of Middletown. One is Michael Paduch, who is the minority leader. He represents a very small portion of the city. Another is Janet Sutherland, who represents a majority out in Wawayanda and Mount Hope, very small part of the city. The majority of the city is represented by Legislator Sierra. So we do not have a voice in this legislative redistricting. I've raised my concerns to Mr. Paduch. He has been very willing to listen. He came into City Hall. We talked about it last week. I told him about my concerns about impacting the residents of our city on a countywide basis with weakening our voice, and that when the maps are made public for us to review, I know there's like 4 or 5 options out there. I have looked at option 5, which seems to be very reasonable, and also I think option, there was a second one that maybe option 6. There's I think 6 maps totally out there that would be very positive for the city of Middletown, and even the minority districts that are created would include parts of the town of Wallkill where we have a fair chance in order to win a seat in those areas. So, the county legislature can't be 21-3, 18 Republicans, or 18-3, or 16-5. That shows an inequity in gerrymandering that's not acceptable. So we need to stay aware of it. We may need, and I don't know the legal side of it because I haven't examined it yet with our attorneys, if it's something that we don't like, we may need to hire an attorney, and because this will affect us for 10 years, and challenge the maps. My understanding of the process is there's another meeting tomorrow. The committee meeting, if you remember, last committee meeting in the county legislature, both Democrats and Republicans walked out of the meeting. They all thought it was an unfair process and wanted nothing to do with it. I don't know if that's the correct answer, is to walk out of a meeting so that there's no public. Then the public would have a chance to really get into these maps. I would hope that tomorrow's meeting, that they do have a quorum, they do present the options that they're considering, and then communities like Middletown, well, every community in the county will then have the opportunity to give their opinion on the maps, and we can see if they're equitable or not. If they don't meet, they brought this right down to the wire, and my understanding is if they don't meet a certain deadline, and I don't know that deadline is, that a special master then would be put in place, and they would then put the maps in place, at least for the 2024 elections. And I don't think that's anything that we want either. I think we want some permanent solutions, but we also want to be at least advised of the process, included, and given some feedback. But right now, and it continues, we do not have a voice for the majority of the city of Middletown in the county legislature, and that's wrong, and that's what makes it even more important for them to hear from the Common Council and from myself about what is being proposed. And I hope Mr. Paduch and Janet Sutherland, who represents the city now, although, as I said, part of the minority part of their districts, will voice those concerns tomorrow during the committee meeting.
In case anyone missed what the mayor said, the length of time this affects the city of Middletown and its residents is 10 years. So it's a very, very important issue. Anyone else have any questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Economic Development, Ms. Bruni, please.
Good evening, everyone. It looks like our concerts are now faring good weather, so our Thursday and Friday night concerts have been doing fairly well, despite some of the rainouts. Also, on the farmers market, we started our SNAP program this past Saturday with success, so we're looking forward to continuing those benefits throughout the entire season, and as every year, now we're certified with SNAP, and we could offer that at the market. Run for Downtown, you're going to see here resolution regarding Run for Downtown. That's August 17th. This also, that week starts with a concert at the Paramount, Queen tribute group. We are the champions, so this is Rock Roll Run weekend. So I'd like to also thank Legislator Paduch and County and Tourism. They granted us $4,999 towards promotions for the Rock, Roll, and Run for the concert and the race. So we thank them for that as well. Also, tonight, I need your support on the 2024 action plan. As you know, the action plan is our yearly plan that goes in based on our HUD consolidated plan. Looking for approval to submit and authorize the mayor to sign all the certifications. Also this week we signed off on a letter, the mayor and myself, that Schumer had out to address increased funding for CDBG because it is under threat, and there are cuts that have been made to CDBG programs. So hopefully there'll be some movement in increasing this funding, because we see the need, because we already have a waiting list for our housing rehab program. So we've already met the need for this year regarding housing rehab and all the funds. And Patty, that runs the program in my office, has developed a waiting list, so we can't get to people until probably late fall or early next year for housing rehab. So hopefully Schumer's letter and petition to help increase funding hopefully will work. And that's all I have for tonight.
Any questions for Ms. Bruni? Maria, thank you very much. DPW Commissioner, Mr. Twill.
Good evening, all. We'll start off with the Alderman Massey. The reservoir level is at 93%. Obviously, we need a little bit more rain, but so far we're doing well. 93% reservoir levels, and we're moving water around in order to maximize our storage. The traffic operation, the mayor, he spoke very well about it, and we regret all the inconvenience that we are causing. And but this pain we have to go through in order to improve our city. And like the mayor said, just go walk around or drive around in downtown. And this is how Wickham Avenue is going to look like. This is how Fulton is going to look like. This is how Dolson is going to look like. This is how East Main Street is going to look like. We're very proud of all the work. It's an extensive work. It's complicated work, but we're getting it done. The most important thing is if there is any issue whatsoever, any complaints, please reach out to my office, and we usually attend to it immediately. Sometimes even on the weekend when we get something is overlooked. The contractor is very cooperative, and they come out even Saturdays or Sundays to address whatever needs to be addressed. So we're all working together in here. It's very tough, but we're getting it done, and we appreciate very much your cooperation and being very patient with us. But it's going to pay off. You'll see next year what the city is going to look like when it's all completed. Again, thank you, and we regret that. The mayor, I'll touch again, just emphasize what the mayor has been saying and what Alderman Kleiner, Council President Rodriguez, and many of you have been saying is, why do we have to open up so much curb in there and remove the sidewalk and then just wait for a while and it sits there for a couple of weeks? The reason behind it is Boyce is using, those are specialty contractors that do the granite curb. They come from upstate, and they will not come down here until they have 5,000 feet, like the mayor was saying. I'm just repeating what the mayor said, and that's the only reason. It's not like lack of coordination or contractor doesn't know what he's doing, or the engineering firm or the city or DPW. It's just, unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. And now we're putting pressure on the contractor to mobilize several sidewalk crews, and you will see them tomorrow. Throughout the city, wherever the granite curb has been installed, they're going to start putting the sidewalk behind it and restoring that area. But any businesses, any residential, anything, please give us a call. Any complaints, don't be bashful. Just call us and tell us, hey guys, come and take a look at my driveway. I can't get in here, the business, whatever it is. And we are in touch, continuing being in touch with business owners as well to make sure that they're fine. I stop there myself many times and I check on them. At the same time, the milling operation is taking place, which is our annual milling. Like I said, the last meeting, we're minimizing the amount of milling that we are doing in city streets this year. Next year is going to be much more. And the reason behind it is to minimize the pain for our people. Water storage tanks, you don't see them, they're in the woods. The construction is moving along very well. The contractor is doing a great job for the Mountain Avenue site and the High Barney site. Highland, it's all done except for minor stuff. That contractor is not working for us as well as the other two tanks. Code enforcement, like the mayor said, it's high priority for us. So will continue to be high priority for us. But again, it takes a village. If it's not really for the alderman and the mayor calling us and telling us, hey, check this location out. Alderman Witt calls me all the time, Alderman Massey, Alderman Green, all of you guys, Johnson, of course, the chairman of DPW committee. All the time, check out this, you guys haven't done this. But that's what it takes, because it's a huge city, 230 linear miles of roads on each side you have to take care of. And we only have so limited resources. We don't see everything. And many times our code enforcement officers are focused on one thing, and they are in court, and they're writing violations, and we're cutting this grass, and we're doing this. So all it takes is just pick up the phone and give us a call, or the mayor's office a call, and we will attend to it. We're not supermen or superwomen, but we need to know where the problem is, and we promise you we will attend to it immediately as soon as we see it. And with that, I will conclude my remarks. If you have any questions.
Any questions for Jacob? Alderman Kleiner?
Thank you. Jacob, we had one question at a constituents meeting where they're putting in the new speed signs, say on Eisenhower Drive, and there's no sidewalk, so they're putting them in the lawn. Is my understanding the city has that easement a certain number of feet from the road? Is that correct? That allows
Yes,
us
that's
to do it?
owned by the city. It's not an easement, it's ownership. We own 50-foot wide road. So the front of your grass, most likely 10 feet of it, it's in a city land, part of the street. So that's what it is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That speed sign. So I'm just going to address, one alderman called me before, and asked me before, and how many contractors are being, how many contractors are doing the work in there. Boyce by itself, I just did a quick number in here. Boyce by itself has 5 contractors working for them. 5 contractors. You have Pentel, the electric. You have the curb guy that comes from upstate. You have the striping guy, another subcontractor, specialty work. And we have the crosswalks, which another specialty work that is taking place, plus Boyce itself. And the milling operation that the city is doing. We have 3 contractors working on it: the milling machine contractor, the paving contractor, and the contractor who's doing our own ADA curbs and sidewalks. They work for us for the city. So you have 3 of them. On top of that, you have the water department running around, repairing the catch basins on all these roads that they will have to be paved. So instead of having, poor, failing structure, sidewalk or a manhole, we go and repair it and rebuild it or replace it before the paving is done. So the water department, sometimes they start 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock. We keep sending text messages out and advisory messages out for the people. And sometimes they work from midnight until 3 o'clock, continuous, to get the job done. Replace old valves before we start paving and finishing the street, capping old valves that are broken for 100 years, major valves. And that's why you get some water interruption messages in there and all that stuff. So having said all that, and you see the complexity in the situation, and that's only within the city, not outside the city and the water storage tanks. But all these things are happening. With that being said, I just want to compliment and really take my hat off for all our guys, from the 2 deputy commissioners, Brian Smith, Ross Mastria, and all the foremen in DPW, all the sanitation guys, all the guys who are chasing the milling machines, all the guys who are shoveling, repairing catch basins in 100-degree temperature, all the men and women who are working for Boyce, for Ray Pentel, for Rotolo, for all these guys. I just take my hat off to these guys. I go walk around, just inspecting certain areas in there, and my shoes are almost burning. How tough it is. And these guys are sitting there minimum 8 hours a day, flagging, trying to make it convenient for the people to pass around the construction site. So I really take my hat off to these guys. It's a very tough work, so please just appreciate them. Be patient with them. And again, it's our fault. We regret putting you through this. But these men and women in there, they are doing a great job for all of us, and the private or the DPW guys.
Any other questions? Okay, Acting City Clerk, Indira?
Yep.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay. Petitions and complaints. We're not going to reread that letter. It was read already. It's received and filed. Remarks of Alderman. Alderman Witt.
Nothing this evening.
Alderman Green.
Yes, please, everyone, just, stay cool in this weather. With regards to that petition that was read before, I don't know if I'd want to live in a city that was putting these things on the back burner. It's very important, and I do want to thank the very passionate constituents that we have that reach out to us, and of course the PD, DPW, code enforcement. Every time I reach out, I always get quick response and always a follow-up to that. So thank you very much, and everyone, again, just stay cool.
Alderman Kleiner.
Thank you. Again, 343-3169. That's DPW's number, if you want to talk with Jacob or anyone else. They're always very good in that department. I want to thank the mayor. That was really a very complete roundup of the last few weeks. My condolences to Dick Wolfslayer's family. I did get a chance to stop by just for a little while, but I know he, judging by the number of people there, it had a major impact on the city. So he will be missed. He was also a constituent, lived down the street from us. The fireworks, I just want to mention that because even last night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, in our neighborhood, boom, just constantly. And the opting out that the city did, the law that New York State changed, was opting out of sparkling devices. So those are the ones that present a hazard of fire and if they get out of control. But in all of New York State, it is illegal to have explosive devices. And that's what's been set off in the city constantly. So there's no place you can go in New York to legally set off explosives. So I don't know. Some people don't care what the law is. And as we say, you know, people trying to sleep, veterans, animals, it's just the dangers they present. It's not a good idea. I'm really happy that the psych center transfer finally happened. Those buildings were in wonderful shape, and now they're in terrible shape, but the Fétienne's been able to do amazing things with them. So we're hoping, just to note, the SKRC was the Solomon Kleiner Rehabilitation Center. Tuckerman Hall was named for Susan Tuckerman, who was a longtime member of the Board of Visitors that kept the hospital running. But my dad was clinical director of the state hospital for many years. There were 2 assistant directors. Dr. Shantz was the assistant director administrative. My dad was assistant director clinical. But he didn't want to be running to Albany and doing this kind of stuff. So he was about the patients, and that's why the Rehabilitation Center was a perfect fit to name after him. Good cause eviction, I really want learn. I can't really get a lot of straight answers on what the state has done. And my understanding was that you could opt into the state program, but I know the things that have been thrown out by the courts in the challenges were before the state let you opt in, but I don't know what you're opting into. I saw different articles on it. I tried to look up the law, and at the end of the law it says NB, which is pay special attention to, and then it says repealed 2034. And I went, what does that mean? But it's not just one typo. There's a lot of sections of it that say repealed 2034. So I don't know. I speak English. I don't speak legalese. I only had 1 day in law school. They didn't teach me that. So I would really like to get what the actual law is, what the actual alternative is, what exactly Kingston and Albany and Newburgh and others have done now. And I know that I've seen a bunch of places where, as the mayor said, if it's a 2-family house and it's owner occupied, well, my understanding is that's exempt from any good cause eviction law. But I want to see that in writing, so I would really like a clear explanation of that. And I'm sure we'll be getting more information. Thank you.
Alderman Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, coincidentally, I had been speaking with Mayor right before the meeting about the good cause eviction bill, and I'm led to believe that that may initially fall under the auspices of the Legislative Committee. So I'm going to let the mayor be the lead on that, and when there's enough data that would substantiate a conversation, I'll put that before legislative and we'll go from there. Community campus, I also want to congratulate the city. Yes, it has truly been a long time coming. Living in Pilgrim Estates, 45 years ago, I had my kids riding bicycles around in there, and it's certainly gone from one place to the other. As you know, I'm indirectly affiliated with Fétienne, and I know they have big plans for the campus, and hopefully I will get to tag along. We'll see how that goes. As far as all the improvements throughout the city, yes, it is an inconvenience. Yes, you might have to make 3 left turns to get to the right turn you were looking for, but it's well worth it. I've also had a fair number of people comment on the traffic lights. I know we're busy looking at the cutaways and the streets, but the traffic lights also, I think, make a big difference to people. And with respect to Coach, Coach and I kind of linked up later in our respective lives. We were both part of a Monday night tennis crew along with Tony Delcato and Bill Byrne. I was definitely the rookie in the crowd. I would love, Dick Wolfslayer was the icon's icon, and I would love to see somebody tabulate the amount of lives that he touched in this city in his career. I've had several people now teaching at Middletown High School who say, yeah, he was my guy in sports camp. and that was like 20 or 30 years ago. So quite an amazing person, and I am very glad that he got to see Will Slayer Field in person. Thank you.
Alderman Jean-Francois.
Yes, good evening. Congratulations to the city of the transfer of the MCC property. I'm looking forward what the future is going to look like for this property. I know it's been a long time coming, like the aldermen say, but this is a great deal for the city. In respect to 4th of July celebration, it was, like the mayor said, it was well attended. Maria, you and your staff did a wonderful job. I enjoyed it. My family enjoyed it. I sat back. I was laughing at you at the celebration at the tall speakers, and you spent the whole night trying to chase the kids away from the speakers, make sure nobody got hurt, and that was pretty funny. But I had a great time. And as far as DPW, the traffic operation, for the small issues that we have here and there, but for the most part, when I travel out of the city or within the city, I don't have anything but great feedback. Everyone loved the project that's going on. The city is looking beautiful. As the chairman of DPW, I'm very proud of all the work that's being done. Thank you.
Thank you. New business.
An authorization sponsored by Alderman Kleiner to host a 2024 Run for Downtown.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner, second by Alderman Witt. Any comments, questions? Roll.
Jean-Francois,
All right?
Johnson,
Aye.
Kleiner,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Witt,
Aye.
Massey,
Aye.
carries. A resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson to accept a $447,668 in Community Development Block Grant by CDBG funding from the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, second by Alderman Green. Any comments, questions? Roll.
Jean-Francois,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kleiner,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Witt,
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries. A resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson to enter into an agreement with Dump Straight Animal Rescue.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, second by Alderman Jean-Francois. Any comments, questions? Yes, Alderman Kleiner.
Thank you. The type on this was really hard to read the way it was scanned in, but my understanding is that, and it's an issue I brought up before, if you have an individual rather than the city as a whole, if an individual has an issue with a feral cat or a stray cat that keeps coming around that they want to have spayed and neutered, I believe they can now call animal control, and that they will direct them to the website or something and how to register that to get Dumped and Stray to come in and help. Is that, does anyone know if that's the correct understanding?
Can I answer?
Oh,
I
absolutely,
believe that's
please.
correct, but Dump Stray is essentially one person with a lot of fosters. So there are times where you will call and you will be told we can neither accept nor place animals at this time. But yes, for the most part, Robin would be the contact person to say what's happening. We've kind of reached our capacity, both in where we can put them and how we can catch them. So, but I think in general, you would be calling Dump Strays first. Pardon?
Mr. Mayor?
I think Jerry's asking about the TNR program, though, right?
Trap, neuter, and release, yes.
Not just the removal, but the,
Right.
you're referring, so
Yeah,
the
'cause
public knows
most of
that.
this deals with trap, neuter, and release.
Yeah, is that the city does have a contract with as you're voting on tonight, with a private provider to house feral cats. We remove them from certain neighborhoods, the colonies that you've seen. I know some people are very offended by it, but others, we don't do it without basically neighborhood complaints when large amounts of feral cats congregate. But the trap, neuter, and replace is a separate program. It's done by them, but we just have to make sure that we're not trapping, neutering, and replacing someone else's cat, right? Is that
Right,
someone's
well,
private
they
cat?
tip
Yes,
the
Your
ears
Honor,
to
that's
be sure.
correct.
Yes, they have to determine, I don't know who makes that determination that it is a stray or a feral cat.
That can be challenging.
Right.
If somebody says, "What happened to my cat?" Well, we trapped it.
Yes, yes. It's at Paul Johnson's. So we have to be
Just to get
careful in
back
it,
to
but,
the question, the resident should contact dump strays, not animal control, or?
no, I think they can do both,
Okay.
but animal control, if, they won't, they'll
farm
just
it back
refer
out
them to
DSR, right.
to them for the trap, neuter, and release. But, for a couple of years, we didn't have animal control because they had a retirement and the police were filling the void.
do
But-
remember that.
But they can call animal control, and at least they'll get some guidance on where to go. But the TNR program is still in place also.
Yeah, because that's what, like I said, it's very hard to read some of
Yeah.
the parts of this contract, but it seems that the city pays like $45 for one that have
Right,
it
right.
trapped, neutered, and released. But it does say there, if an individual citizen wants to do that, then they can contact the city. And I'm not sure if it said contact the website. Again, it's
Again, we got to make sure that we're not TNRing somebody's private
private cat.
pet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Any
just
other comments,
The
questions?
actual gatekeeper to provide the service will be DSAR.
Yeah.
It'll land there if something's going to take place.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Roll.
Alderman Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries. A resolution sponsored by Alderman Witt to accept donations from Cornerstone Family Healthcare and DeStefano's Oldie Erie Brew Pub and Grill for the 2024 National Night Out Against Crime event.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Witt, seconded by Alderman Kleiner. Any comments, questions? Roll.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries. A resolution sponsored by Jean Francois to accept an award of $6,210 from the County of Orange for the second Stop DIY enforcement period.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Jean Francois, seconded by Alderman Green. Comments, questions? Roll.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries. A resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner to award the 2024 chemical bids.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner, seconded by Alderman Witt. Any comments or questions? Roll.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries. A resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to hold a public hearing for a subdivision at the intersection of Academy Avenue and East Main Street.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Witt. Any comments or questions? Roll.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries. A resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson for a negative CCAR declaration for the parking garage.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Green. Comments, questions? Roll.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries. And this is the
Do
one.
you not have another one? Please excuse us 1 second, because I do. Does anyone else have another resolution on there?
No, I'm
You
supposed
do
to
have
have
it?
that. I'm supposed
Okay,
to have
that's
that
all
one.
right. No, that's why we do this.
That was my question.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's,
That's coming up, Jerry.
I put that together probably with mine.
Want the repairs.
Where are we?
Because I can't find it. So Alderman Green? Okay.
Yeah, you can just,
Okay, so I'll say this.
Is there a
one.
number we
Yeah.
can call
I have it
about
here.
this?
oh, okay, you have it,
Find out what's
okay.
going on.
So a resolution sponsored by Alderman Green authorizing a $100,000 budget transfer for MPC repairs.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Johnson. Comments, questions? Roll.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
No local laws, audits, and claims.
Mr. Chairman, I move the accounts be audited, the claims be adjusted, and the city treasurer be authorized to issue warrants for their
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, second by Alderman Jean-Francois. Comments, questions? Roll.
Jean-Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I want to thank you before we have a motion to adjourn. By Alderman Green, second by Alderman Witt. All in favor?